Depopulation, Agenda 21 and 2030, Georgia Guidestones, a new world order. Is it really this bad? Can people be so evil as to wipe us out as soon as they get a chance? Well, yes. We've already seen the position of the UN towards a new world order. Let's listen to some of our world leaders and see if they believe in this new world order, shall we?
Nothing less than a new world order. This is the pledge of the world's most powerful leaders, representing 90% of the global economy.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
We're seeing a new world order now being built, and I don't think America can retreat from that.
The integration of national economies into a global economy. So we're going to keep on pushing hard to shape an international order.
Sometimes I'm criticized in my own country for professing a belief in international norms and multilateral institutions, but I am convinced that in the long run, giving up some freedom of action, binding ourselves to international rules, over the long term enhances our security.
Dat we ons samen sterk maken voor een wereldorde die weer een tijd mee kan. Voor onszelf en voor het collectief.
Today is the beginning of a global mobilization effort to rally our forces behind this Great Reset initiative. We need a Great Reset.
We can actively contribute together to building the 21st century world order.
Wenn man eine wirkliche Weltordnung haben will, eine globale politische Ordnung, dann wird man nicht umhin kommen, an einigen Stellen auch Souveränität, Rechte an andere abzugeben.
De internationale inbedding heeft ons land veel gebracht. Het goed functioneren van de naoorlogse multilaterale wereldorde en de internationale stabiliteit zijn cruciaal voor onze rechtsstaat en voor de kracht van onze economie.
Pieces are in flux. Soon they will settle again. Before they do, let us reorder this world around us.
In this period, when really a new world order can be created, it's a great opportunity. There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
And the challenge is how to build a world order for the first time in history on a global basis.
President Obama and British Prime Minister Gordon today calling for a new world order to tackle our global economic crisis.
And the President outlined his vision of a new world order in which the US would participate fully.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions or on so global a scale.
A new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges.
And I strongly believe India will be a central actor in the new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interest of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that is the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it. The New World Order is what they all want. The New World Order as described in the Protocols of Zion. Remember? We shall so wear down the Goyim that they will offer us international power that will enable us to form a super government. In place of the rulers of today, we shall set up a super government administration. Its hands will reach out in all directions, and its organization will be of such colossal dimensions that it cannot fail to subdue all the nations of the world. One authority will be glorious because it will be all-powerful. Our authority will be the crown of order, and in that is included the whole happiness of man. We have seen in part 4 that the New World Order's main focus is complete world dominance. Population control, better known as depopulation, is the UN's tool to annihilate the majority of the masses so that no more than 500 million people are left on the face of the earth. A neat number, easy to control, dominate, and subjugate. What we have shown you so far when it comes to depopulation is not all. Believe it or not, there are more ways to depopulate the planet. The Cabal has given this topic a lot of careful consideration and planning. Now, before we talk you into a depression, please do realize the following. First of all, this evil is nothing new. It has been here for many, many centuries. All we do is expose it, so we can deal with it and get rid of it, okay? Exposure is vital. It is their worst nightmare. Once you know what you're dealing with, you can act and take back your own sovereignty. Secondly, those who know us and our work know that we never end on a negative note. The scripts we write, the presentations we give, always end on a positive note. There is always an unexpected twist at the end. So please bear with us. We promise you, you will love what's coming. So, let's expose the maggots once and for all, shall we? How are we, the people, being attacked in the name of population control? Wars, natural disasters, famine and drought, plagues and diseases, vaccinations, family planning, chemtrails, GMOs, and additives in food, water, beauty care and cleaning products. Wars speak for themselves. As we've seen, they have always been caused by the Cabal as a divide and conquer strategy and as a way to make massive amounts of money. Wars don't just start, they are instigated by design. Always. Who makes the money? The Cabal. Who does the suffering? We, the people. Next, natural disasters. Think earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions and tsunamis. They don't need much explanation. The earth shakes, people die. But did you know that many of these natural disasters nowadays are actually caused by man? Ever heard of HAARP? High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program? An American military research program used to excite the ionosphere via high-frequency signals? Using it influences the weather in a profound way.
Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. In the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. For decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics, rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes. All of them could be subject to weather modification.
Natural disasters can be and are triggered by the cabal to get rid of people. How convenient. Others are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism, whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes and volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real. Next, depopulation through famine and drought. This too can be triggered by HAARP. Control the weather, and you control the yield of crop and the water supply. Create hunger and thirst, and you have the people right where you want them. Needy, vulnerable, and scared. Then, fast depopulation through plagues and diseases. Take for instance the bubonic plague, the Black Death, that killed God knows how many millions of people across the world in the Middle Ages. What a delightful way to lose millions of people in one go. No bullets needed, no bombs, just plagues. Another plague that turned out to be highly convenient was the Spanish flu. More people died of the Spanish flu than of bullets during the First World War. Between 1918 and 20, an estimate of 50 million people died. 1/3 of the entire world population was infected. It is believed to be the greatest pandemic the world has ever experienced, worse even than the medieval Black Death. There are several very interesting things about the Spanish flu. First of all, it didn't start in Spain. Secondly, it wasn't a flu. There's more, but let's start with these two, shall we? If it didn't start in Spain, then where did it? In the US. If it wasn't a flu virus, what was it? It was a bacteria that caused severe and in most cases lethal pneumonia. According to a 2008 National Institute of Health paper, bacterial pneumonia was the killer in a minimum of 92.7% of the autopsies reviewed. So why do we call it the Spanish flu? As a decoy, a smokescreen to hide the truth. Why? Because the truth is so hideous. Most people prefer to hear a convenient lie. The first cases of bacterial pneumonia in 1918 trace back to a military base in Fort Riley, Kansas. Long story short, during the first half of 1918, an experimental bacterial meningitis vaccine cultured in horses by the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research in New York, now the Rockefeller University, was injected into soldiers at Fort Riley. The so-called Spanish flu was a vaccine experiment gone horribly wrong. Well, that's what we, the people, would say. The cabal would refer to it differently. They would call it an experiment with the best outcome ever. Millions of American soldiers were vaccinated with this experimental serum. 2 million of them went overseas. They fought under poor sanitary conditions, so the bacteria spread like wildfire wherever they went. The story was then spread that these soldiers would come home with all sorts of European diseases, so the American population was vaccinated as well. On top of everything else, the vaccines were distributed all over Europe. Only the vaccinated died. Healthy men and women in the prime of their lives died, not the elderly, as would have been the case if it were a flu virus. Who was in charge of that distribution and mass vaccination program? The Rockefeller Institute. Who was the main scientist in charge? Dr. Frederick Gates. According to Gates, they injected random dosages of an experimental bacterial meningitis vaccine into soldiers. Those who survived became cloud adults, meaning they spread the bacteria to others, even the non-vaccinated. In modern COVID days, we would call it shedding. The vaccinated infecting the non-vaccinated. What an amazing coincidence, right? Frederick Gates then, Bill Gates now. Rockefeller Initiative then, Rockefeller Initiative now. Disease developed in Fort Riley, US then. Disease developed in Wuhan, China now. Closed down societies then. Closed down societies now. Cloud adults then. Shedding now. All for our own good, our own safety. Back then. And now. And just about a century in between. So, back to depopulation through plagues and diseases. The problem with plagues is that they don't occur much, certainly not in these modern times of hygiene. But not to worry, the CABAL is quite creative and always comes up with a solution to every problem. If there is no plague available, you create one.
An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths, either naturally caused or intentionally caused.
Back in 1943, Fort Detrick in Maryland, US, was set up as a center of the US biological weapons program. Everything that happened there was top secret. Fort Detrick was a tool of the CIA. It was a dark pit of the most inhumane experiments in the area of mind control and killer viruses. If you truly want to know how evil it really was, we urge you to look into Michael Aquino, the head of MKUltra at Fort Detrick, who later founded the satanic cult of the Temple of Set. In 1968, Fort Detrick hosted yet another secret project, the Special Virus Cancer Program. It was part of the National Cancer Institute. The scientists wanted to learn how to use viruses to make cancer and to force normal cells to become cancerous by subjecting them to viruses. Why? Because cancer is an excellent weapon when it comes to biological warfare. It can be used to take down political leaders without any suspicion of a crime committed. And it can be used to wipe out large numbers of the population, as most forms of cancer are deadly. Approximately 10 million people die of cancer worldwide each year. That's about 26,000 people each day. Two classes of cancer-causing viruses were studied extensively at Fort Detrick's Special Virus Cancer Program. The RNA-type tumor retroviruses and the DNA herpes-type viruses. In the process, two discoveries were made: HIV and KS, Kaposi sarcoma. Kaposi sarcoma is widely known as the gay cancer that often accompanied AIDS when the first cases broke out in gay men in Manhattan, New York City in 1979. As a matter of fact, Manhattan was the center of the first AIDS outbreak, not Africa. It wasn't until 1982 that AIDS broke out in Africa. Still, we are supposed to believe that AIDS originated in Africa and that it jumped from apes, primates, to humans. Not only that, we are supposed to believe that back in 1979 it jumped from African apes to only white gay men in Manhattan, as did the human herpes 8 virus that causes all forms of Kaposi sarcoma, the gay cancer. We are expected to believe that two primate viruses, a retrovirus and a herpes virus, jumped species in Africa at the same time and ended up exclusively in the blood of white gay American men to produce a new immunodeficiency disease in 1979, now called AIDS. This proposed scenario suggests to me that such an unlikely African event has the markings of a scientific fairy tale, and I remain stupefied that such nonsense can pass for science in the 21st century. So, what else happened in Manhattan in 1979? The experimental hepatitis B vaccination program. For 2 years until 1981, the year the AIDS epidemic became official, gay men were vaccinated with this experimental vaccine, not only in Manhattan, but also in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco. What a coincidence that these three cities became the three big epicenters of the AIDS epidemic. Now, we realize that there will be a lot of opposition and denial when it comes to the man-made origin of HIV and AIDS. We suggest you study the work of professionals such as Dr. Leonard Horowitz, Dr. Robert Strecker, Professor Robert Lee, and the above-mentioned Dr. Alan Cantwell. Back to Fort Detrick and its horrid experiments. Meet Robert Charles Gallo, a biomedical researcher best known for his role in the discovery of HIV and subsequently the invention of the HIV test kit. He was head of the Laboratory of Tumor Cell Biology at the National Cancer Institute. Gallo didn't actually discover HIV, he stole the discovery, held by his partner in crime, Dr. Fauci. Whom did they steal it from? Dr. Frank Ruscetti. And Dr. Judy Mikovits. Mikovic worked under the direction of Rossetti. She was the one who isolated HIV from blood and saliva, and by doing so, she confirmed the earlier discovery by the French doctor Luc Montagnier, who had isolated and described HIV as a possible cause of AIDS. When Rossetti was out of town, Mikovic got a phone call from Fauci, who ordered her to give him the manuscript about the isolation and confirmation of HIV while it was still in press. Mikovic refused, as it was unethical to do so. The paper was still confidential. Fauci then threatened to fire her for insubordination. Mikovic still refused. When Rossetti returned a few weeks later, he gave Fauci the manuscript. Fauci then deliberately delayed the publication of the manuscript so that his partner in crime, Dr. Frank Gallo, could steal the content and write a competing paper, submit it, and get it into press before Rossetti and Mikovic could do so. On May 4, 1984, Dr. Gallo published his now famous papers containing the findings of Rossetti and Mikovic, but under his name.
This delayed the development of testing and spread the HIV epidemic through the world, killing millions.
Was Fauci held accountable for his responsibility for the millions of lives his greed had cost? On the contrary. 6 months later, he was appointed director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, a position he still holds today. Well, not much longer, we suspect, as Dr. Fauci is now heavily under fire for his involvement in the Wuhan outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. With all the evidence now on the table, we find it hard to believe that Fauci will be on the right side of the prison bars for much longer. Back to Dr. Gallo. Gallo worked with Litton Industry and its subsidiary Bionetics. Litton Industry is a defense contractor and supplier of biological weapons. Bionetics managed America's Biological Weapons Testing Center at Fort Detrick and ran the entire National Cancer Institute with its special virus cancer program. Bionetics supplied the lab animals, including monkeys and chimpanzees, cancer viruses and vaccine culture media for cancer investigators and pharmaceutical manufacturers throughout the 1960s and 70s. Litton and Bionetics created and spread AIDS and many other deadly viruses. Subsequently, Bionetics supplied Merck with experimental viruses for vaccine studies. Now, that sounds rather clinical, doesn't it? But here's what really happened. They used children as guinea pigs in Africa and at the Willowbrook State School on Staten Island in New York. Children!
Have you ever used orphans to study an experimental vaccine?
Yes.
Have you ever used babies of mothers in prison to study an experimental vaccine?
Yes.
Have you ever used individuals under colonial rule to study an experimental vaccine?
Yes.
Did you do so in the Belgian Congo?
Yes.
These were experiments conducted by the evil trinity of Lytton, Bionetics, and Merck, assigned by Kissinger and the CIA. Mind you, these experiments were in no way less evil than those of the Nazi doctors in the death camps of World War II. In this school from hell, mentally retarded children were injected with vaccines containing all kinds of killer viruses, including cancer viruses. Virus research experiments at Bionetics caused new types of cancer, such as leukemia, lymphoma, and sarcoma, diseases they had never seen before. In 1970, the Defense Department ordered these viruses, including other immune-suppressing viruses. That's right, the Defense Department bought cancer-inducing viruses that had been invented, created by Bionetics and tested on children. So, in case you ever wondered why we never heard about people dying from cancer in the old days, it's because all of these kinds of cancer had not been invented yet. Merck is one of the big pharma giants that Bill Gates is heavily involved in. According to researcher Dr. Leonard Horowitz, it was Kissinger who gave the order to fabricate the killer viruses. Merck's vaccines triggered AIDS. At the same time, Kissinger prepared his infamous National Security Memorandum 200. That's right, the Kissinger Report, calling for massive Third World depopulation. Remember from Part 6? The devastating side effects of the hepatitis B vaccine, like HIV, AIDS and cancer, must have been an absolute triumph in the eyes of the cabal, wanting to depopulate the planet. It didn't take long before the next target of their annihilation program was massively vaccinated: the black people of the African continent. We all know how that ended. Over 32 million people died a slow and horrible death by this brand new disease called AIDS. We promised to tell you more about the other depopulation tools: vaccinations, family planning, chemtrails, GMOs and additives in food, water, beauty care and cleaning products. But as we've gone beyond the time limit of our episodes, we invite you to join us to Part 15.